Welcome back to Code Your Own HTML Mailchimp Email Template tutorial, where we are using MJML and MJML Mailchimp to code an HTML template for Mailchimp. So as you can see, we have our MJML file, which we started in part 1, and then we outputted it to our HTML. So we created HTML without actually touching any HTML code, which is amazing. So let's get a refresher on what we're building. Okay. So this is our template, which I created in Sketch. As you can see, it has, and we're going to break this down in our code, it has a header, a subhead, and a content section. The content section can be broken down to a top, a middle, and a bottom. And I'll explain the difference later. And then we have, these are going to be social icons, and then we have a footer. So let's look what that looks like. We go to my campaign builder. Great. So we called it the daily grind, and each section should be editable. So I should be able to click edit and then just change the text. So if this is not the daily, we want it to be the weekly grind now. That should be able to happen. And the images should also be editable. And these sections should be customizable. And then we are also going to use built-in Mailchimp merge tags so that this date, because it's a template, we don't want to have to write the date every time we send out this template. If we preview it, it should put today's date, and it does. And that is because we are using Mailchimp merge tags, and they actually have a handy dandy merge tags cheat sheet. And I will put a link in the description below. So let's get back to the code. So let's jump in. I know that I want my body to have a background color of hashtag F1, 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 which is a light gray. And then I want all of my sections, which are MC sections. This is something we set up last time, to have a background color of white. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Beautiful. And then I also know that I want this to have padding of 40 pixels. Oh, did not close that quotation there. And let's see, actually, let's do what we did before. Let's go to our package.json just to remind ourselves of what script we're going to use. We're going to do yarn build. And it outputted. Okay, so now we have our index.html. If at any point we want to check what that looks like, let's actually open that up in the browser. And what did we call this? We called this tutorial example. So we have our index.html. Let's bring that in the browser. See what we have so far. Okay. Okay, so I said I was using white. I was actually, if we remember what we're building, I want this to be black. So 000 is black. So we have the start of our header, and then we know the rest is going to be white. So we have a good start. And then if you're ever wondering, let's inspect the page. So you can do this just like it's just an HTML file. So we can see our padding is being applied. That's the green. And then whatever we put inside is going to have this padding all around, which is very nice. All right, back to the code. We have our MJ column, which is great. If ever we want to put notes to ourselves, we can actually put in an MJ raw. And this is just, this would just go into the code as a comment. So I know that this is going to be the header. And that's just, when I output this to HTML, I can see that header is there, it's a reminder, and I can see exactly what's going on. So we want our MJ column to have, actually, yes, I think we don't need to do that. And I just want to also explain while we're here why I'm putting the styles here, because I can actually also put the styles into my head, and I'll demonstrate that in a little bit. I want the styles to be here because then they become inline in my HTML. As you can see, this div just has an inline style. And inline styles work well with templating. The unfortunate thing about non-inline styles is that certain email clients, such as Outlook, do not like that. So if you have styles that are coming from the head, you are actually going to need to run this through an inliner. And we'll look later, CSS Monitor has a really great email template explanation about what works for which client. And optimally, you want something to work for all clients. All right, we're back here. So we know we want, let's look here. Okay, so we know we have this header. It says the daily grind, and then it has this border around it. Okay, so within, we already have this kind of set up. We know we want the column to have a width of 100%. This is definitely the title. And MC edit is what makes it editable in Mailchimp. That's what makes it so that I can hover over, it says edit, which is important for us. We also know we want this text align center. And then because I know we're going to put a border around it, I'm actually going to give this a CSS class. Try to limit as much header styling you do, but unfortunately, and I can demonstrate this also, border is not an attribute I can give to an MC or an MJ text. So let's call this header text class. And I know I want font size to be 57 pixels. And then our whole thing is going to be font family Helvetica. Okay, and we also want this, actually we want to be white. So that's 6 Fs and preferably a hashtag. Yes. And I know I want it also to be bold. And we're going to put a little bit of padding around this as well. And padding is what's going to push the border away from the text. And instead of hello world, let's do your daily grind. Okay, and I'm just going to show you what happens if I try putting the border attribute. So I do border 1 pixel solid white. Let's see what happens in our yarn build. Okay, so it says attribute border is illegal. So we know we cannot do that. I'm just going to copy that. So what we're going to do, we call this header text. We're going to go to our MJ head. We're going to do MJ style. Close the MJ. Close it. MJ style. And then within here is where we're just going to make CSS like we would in a CSS file. So we know we called it header text. Then I'll just paste that in there. And then again, like CSS, it needs to be formatted correctly. And also I know I want this border to be 4 pixels. So let's save that. Let's see how it likes that. Okay, much happier. And then if we refresh our index, we have our title. Beautiful. Before I jump back into the code, I just wanted to show this CSS inliner tool that Mailchimp provides. As you can see, they say here some email clients strip out head and style tags from emails, so it is best to have your CSS written inline within your markup. So if we go back to our code, this is the MJML we created. If we go to our index.html, so you can see the header text styling is a style tag within the head. So before we actually put our template up on Mailchimp, and we just paste the code in, we are going to put our HTML here and convert it so that it is fully inlined. So we'll get to that later. I just wanted to bring that up as a sidebar. To our index.mjml, I'm going to try to go a little faster. Just know that when I was creating this, I was doing a lot of back and forth between my design and what I'm typing, because you just want to check like how much spacing, what's the font size, what have you. Okay, so I know I want another empty section, so I'm actually just going to copy this whole section, get rid of what I don't need. So yeah, okay. You always have an empty section for your new section, and I know that this is going to be the subheader. And then an MC column, MJ column, always MJ, these are not MC. And the columns, actually, we only have one for the top, but as you can see, this actually divides 1, 2. So we're going to have 2 columns in this section. And the great thing about MJML is it's just going to, if it's within a section, it'll just put them side by side. So you can even have, this could be broken into 4 columns. And that's how that works. All right, back here. So we have one MJ column, and just so we remember, we are also going to have another MJ column. And let's just create some spacing so we can see what is going on here. Okay. So we don't want this, it'll just do an automatic width. We don't want that to be 100%. And our first MC text at the top is actually going to be the date. That's what's going on in our subhead. And then we don't want this to be aligned center. It'll just automatically align left, so we actually don't need to even put anything there. We still want it to be Helvetica. We want actually the color this time around to be black. Okay, and also knowing that we want this section to be white. So remember, this is our subheader section that we copied over. Yeah, so padding of 40 pixels is still good. And then we know this section actually has a border bottom. So let's give it a CSS class of divider container, because we're going to use this same styling later on. If I can spell correctly. And then let's take this, save, and we'll put it up here. We'll just create the styling. So I know divider container is going to be a border bottom this time. 4 pixels. Actually, let's make it 3 pixels. 3 pixels, solid, black. Okay, back here. So what else am I missing? Font family, correct. We don't want this to be 57 pixels. We want it to be 14 pixels. Before, I'm going to put this as a merge tag so that it'll just automatically change, but just to remind myself it is the date. And we also know that we really want this to be always uppercase, so we're going to text transform uppercase. When MJML just puts in its own padding for elements for the text, so we know that we don't want padding on the left. I think that looks good. And now we're going to use a merge tag. So again, the merge tag document will be below. This is how you do it for date. It's going to be like that. And then I go uppercase date, month, day. And then these, like whether they're uppercase or lowercase, actually format them differently. I don't want a comma there. Okay, cool. And go like that. Give me another star. All right, so our date is great. Now on the other side of our column, actually this is still within the same column. It is important to look back. So we have within the same column, we have the date, today's news, and then served hot on the daily. And then we have our image on the right. So within the same column, let's copy our text again. We know we want it 3 times. So this is actually going to be subhead. And then below, let's make this the slogan. And our subhead is today's news. Well, we're already text transforming it uppercase. You don't have to make it uppercase. I just wrote it uppercase. Either way works. And similar thing, we definitely want a padding left of 0 pixels. We want this to be text decoration, like underline. We don't need the header text. Remember that CSS class was happening above so that the border would happen around it. So we don't want that. So while we're doing that, let's just remove that from all of these. Font family is still Helvetica. Font size now is going to be 30 pixels. And we want our font weight to be bold. We do not want our font weight of the date to be bold, however, so we're just going to get rid of that. And padding, did I leave that here too? Okay, don't want that. Do want that, however. We don't need that. All right, that looks good. Now we're going to move on to the slogan. So let's, in this case, just leave text transform. Served hot on the daily. So we know we want that all uppercase. Padding left 0, great. In this case, we know we want a padding bottom to push down the border that we added to the section. And we want that to be 40 pixels. And our font size for the above is 30 pixels, so our font size here for like the slogan subhead of today's news is going to be 16 pixels. Helvetica still, definitely black, bold is good, and this is already happening. Make sure you don't delete that. Okay, cool. Now let's get our other side of the column. So we're going to use a new tag, and instead of MC text, this is going to be MC image. And there's nothing going inside of it, so let's just make this self-closing. All right, so of course, because it's an image, we need this to have a source. So let's give it MC image. Let's give it MC edit sub image, because it's in our subhead. And then we also want to style this image a bit because it will come in too large. So let's give it a CSS class of image subhead container. That looks great. And then we need to give it a few more attributes because it is an image. Let's get rid of all of this so we don't get confused. Let's give it a height of auto. In a second, we'll do the most important thing. And that is bringing it in. So we need the source. Okay. So what I did is I put my images on Imgur, so I'm hosting them. So let's find which one is the coffee. This is the coffee. So I have it on Imgur, so I'm going to actually right-click, and I'm going to copy image address. Don't need that. Okay. And then I'm just going to paste that here. And as you can see, it's a PNG. Perfect. And we are going to align this to the right. What else? We do not want it to have a border. Border none. Padding 0 pixels. And something from my experience is that sometimes images will look great in Mailchimp, so in the preview mode, and they'll look great for Gmail, but then you test it for Outlook and something wacky happens. So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. We are definitely going to do some litmus testing, and I'll show you what that means. Padding bottom equals 20 pixels. Okay, let's save that. That's our MC image. So we should have our subsection built. Okay. Padding bottom 40 pixels does not like. So where's that happening? It's happening on line 37. Let me just double check what's going on there. Did I spell something incorrectly? Oh yes, okay. So I'm used to CSS, so you always need to double check that, and that's what's so great about the terminal is it'll tell you what is going wrong. And there we go. Let's go back here to our index.html. Beautiful. Okay, and as you can see, I put a class for this, but I never did anything there, so it's very large. The great thing is that it is in 2 columns, which I like to see. So let's go back here. In our styles, we called this image subhead container. Okay, and we want it to have max width of 118 pixels, and we want it to be the margin 0 auto. All right, let's try this again and see what happens. Oh, I see what I did wrong again. Okay, so basically right now I'm actually selecting the container, but I want to select an image within the container. And it is a little annoying. I am pressing the up arrow to get yarn build back every time, and then clicking enter. That wasn't evident. And there we go. Beautiful. And I'm going to end this section here with our header and our subhead built. Hope to see you in part 3. Bye.